I sat at my girlfriend's family dinner table while her sister intentionally dropped her fork to brush her fingers across my knee. The air in the dining room became instantly heavy. Chloe and I had been together for a year, building what I always thought was a stable, quiet relationship. We met at a birthday party, shared an apartment, and rarely fought. But 3 weeks ago, during a family gathering at her parents' house in the suburban South, her 26-year-old sister, Elena, entered the frame. I had never met her before due to her university schedule out of state. The moment we crossed paths, the entire dynamic of my life shifted into a terrifying, high-stakes game. Elena didn't just try to be friendly. She immediately targeted our relationship with a quiet, calculated intensity. It started during that first weekend trip. While Chloe went upstairs early to sleep off a headache, Elena stayed down in the living room with me. We ended up talking until 4 in the morning, pouring coffee and sharing jokes. But the conversation quickly moved from innocent banter to sharp, subtle digs at my marriage potential. She kept pointing out how Chloe and I had nothing in common, how Chloe openly mocked my hobbies as a waste of time, and how our senses of humor completely mismatched. She was planting seeds of doubt, using my own inner thoughts to drive a wedge between us. The real trouble began when we got back to the city. Elena found my social media accounts and started flooding my inbox with private messages, memes, and late-night texts. She made up transparent excuses to keep the communication alive, asking for my advice on tech setups or book recommendations. The tone of her messages crossed the line into something deeply personal, filled with inside jokes from our weekend together. I felt a sickening mix of guilt and adrenaline every time my screen lit up with her name. She was actively building a secret world with me, one that completely excluded her own sister. Chloe is just so traditional, you know? Elena's text read late last Tuesday night, while Chloe slept soundly right next to me. I always thought you were way too interesting for a life that predictable. It is kind of sad seeing you compromise who you are, just to keep her comfortable. The manipulation was working, turning my home into a house of mirrors. Every time Chloe reached across the couch to hold my hand, my entire body went stiff. When she looked into my eyes and whispered that she loved me, the guilt hit my stomach like a physical blow, making me break out into a cold sweat. I said the words, "I love you too," felt like a slow death, because I knew a third person was actively taking up space in my mind. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and the physical toll was becoming obvious. Yesterday, Chloe rubbed my shoulder and told me how insanely pale and skinny I looked, begging me to see a doctor. I just laughed it off, unable to tell her the sickness was sitting right in our inbox. 2 days ago, the sabotage turned physical. Elena sent a message through a group chat, organizing a casual dinner at a local bistro while she was in town, but she conveniently forgot to tag Chloe in the final update. When I showed up at the restaurant, the table was set just for the two of us. I should have turned around and walked out the door right then, but the hesitation trapped me. She sat across from me in the dim lighting, wearing a dark dress, completely relaxed, as she explained away the accidental miscommunication with a dismissive wave of her hand. "Chloe is just so busy with her corporate projects anyway. She wouldn't have enjoyed this place," Elena murmured. "We don't need her here to have a good conversation, do we? You can admit it. You're bored with her. You've been bored for months, and you're just too nice of a guy to say it out loud." The sheer audacity of her statement broke the spell completely. Seeing her spell out the destruction of her sister's happiness with a smile made the scales fall off my eyes. She didn't care about my feelings, and she certainly didn't care about Chloe. She just wanted the satisfaction of winning a game where her sister lost everything. I sat perfectly still, letting the silence stretch out between us over the noise of the crowded restaurant. The waiter set down our drinks, but I didn't touch mine. I looked at Elena, seeing the vanity and the calculation behind her polished exterior. I realized that my silence had been feeding her confidence, making her believe I was an active accomplice in her little drama. I stood up from the booth, slid my coat over my shoulders, and picked up my phone from the table. I told her she could pay the bill herself, and that I was going home to tell Chloe every single detail of the messages she had been sending me for the last month. I walked out of the bistro into the cool night air, took a deep, clear breath for the first time in weeks, and started the long walk back to the apartment to clean the slate for good.